A quick word before we get into this week's episode.
I was talking to a head of school recently who said, Peter, we've got a strong strategic plan, but every time we try to act on it, things stall. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Big goals are easy to write down, but they often get bogged down in the daily, making it hard to stay strategic. That's why I built the school operating system. It's a framework that helps you align your team and focus your priorities so you can actually execute the plan. We work alongside you to extrapolate a one-year plan from your existing strategic plan, break it into 90-day sprints, and design a much more effective meeting rhythm that moves your team closer to your strategic vision every single day. And that's just the start. We support much more to help you build the operational infrastructure your plan needs to succeed. If you're serious about making traction this year, let's talk. Visit moonshotos.com/SOS. That's MOONSHOTOS.com/SOS to learn more and set up a time to chat about the school operating system. Hi there, my friend. I'm Peter Barron. Welcome to today's episode of the Independent School Moonshot Podcast. So I have a return guest. Brendan Schneider is back today. Brendan is the founder of SchneiderB Media. He works with lots of schools on digital marketing. He's also an advisor in Moonshot Labs, so he's available to answer questions and offer advice to members of my member community. And he and I talk all the time about AI and how AI is evolving at such an incredibly quick pace, and thinking through strategically, how can you use it to, gain efficiencies within your operations and, just do more with less. Because I think that's something we're all kind of wrestling with. So I'm thrilled he's back here today. We're going to talk specifically around how school marketers can use AI and some of the things that he's learned over the last year and a half. And we're going to dive into it. Brendan Schneider, welcome to the podcast.
Peter, I'm so happy to be back. And this is a topic that I love talking about, and I love talking about with you. So let's get into it.
Yeah. I mean, you've run what now? 2 summits on AI, one on marketing, one on enrollment management. Did I get that right?
It was it was marketing and one enrollment. And for me, those were really simply about asking really cool speakers that I wanted to learn from and then sharing it with other people. Because I think marcom professionals and enrollment professionals need to learn these things. They need to understand it. And unfortunately, in schools, they just don't have the time, or they don't feel like they can take the time to learn. So we try to help.
Hey, and we'll get into all of that in just a bit. But before we do, I know you've been on the pod before, but in case somebody didn't hear that episode and they don't know Brendan Schneider, can you introduce yourself and your company?
So Peter, thanks. I worked in schools for 28 years. I worked at boarding school, day school, worked in higher ed for a couple of years, and then got out as quick as I could. But a little over 3.5 years ago, made the decision to go full time on what I call the dark side. So consulting full time, doing SchneiderB Media full time, and really at SchneiderB we do digital marketing consulting. So think Google Ads, Meta Ads, SEO, landing pages, reputation management, Marcom societies. So K-12 Marcom professionals. I do have enrollment professionals in there as well. So training and community, and then school marketing CRM. So we have software that's kind of like a HubSpot Lite to help schools do marketing.
Yeah. Awesome. And so I think what I'm hearing here is you've been at this for a long time, so, working with schools as a school marketer and working alongside school marketers. I mean, when you think about AI and you're looking out across our industry right now, where do you think most schools are on like that spectrum of adoption from I haven't touched it, or it's greatly like embedded in my office and we use it every day to drive, our marketing program?
That's a great question. And here's how I kind of frame it. So I've been doing a talk on AI, and it's updated over the years, but maybe a little over a year and a half, let's say. And when I first did it, very few people had played with it and had even jumped into it. I mean, even to the point where I had people coming up, like the first 3 or 4 times I gave the talk, I had people come up and say to me, privately, of course, hey, Brendan, thank you so much, because I was scared. I was scared to experiment or use it, and now I feel so much better. And I, of course, I was empathetic and said, there's nothing to be scared about, just jump in and play. So over that year and a half or so, or actually more than a year and a half, what I've seen is there's less fear. I would say most people are using the tools, well, let me back up a little bit, have used the tools and or use them inconsistently. And I think what I want to talk about today and what we keep talking about is they need to make it part of their workflow. I think very few people are doing that. And I think they need to make it part of their workflow and or using the, what do they call it? Like advanced features, you know, the deep research or other things we could talk about, but they're not really jumping into that. They're just really kind of scratching the surface with, you know, write an email or write a newsletter or something like that.
So, you know, as you're talking to schools, I mean, look, I guess that what did you say you started doing this talk a year and a half ago?
Yeah, a little over. Yeah.
So what's changed over that year and a half?
I think people's comfort level or acceptance with it. I mean, you and I have talked about this a lot. People were fearful. I mean, I think even the media, when it first came out, were fearful about it, worried about privacy, worried about lots of things. And I think that's subsided a little bit. I mean, there's still things that you should do. But I mean, you and I have talked about the fact that we give Google everything,
right?
You know, especially even if you're a Google school, you give Google everything and people don't question that. But people were like, oh my gosh, I can't use ChatGPT or whatever model you want.
Yeah. You know, there's also this thing where, you know, early on, people didn't want to admit they were using it, not because they were fearful maybe of the privacy issues, but more so just kind of, I don't want people knowing that I'm using AI to help me with my work. I mean, Eric Hudson, who was on the pod maybe a couple of months back when we were talking about AI in that episode, he talked about how there was a long time people just wouldn't admit they're using it, but that stigma seems to be fading very, very fast.
Agreed. That's a great point. People, I think, are getting over that and they're using it and you know, they're not worried about it and they say they use it. You know, the one thing people, I'll go into this. People were concerned about using it. Somehow it was disingenuous or I'm not sure the right word, but you know, just they didn't feel good about it, kind of to your point. And my point is always like they would misrepresent the work that they did or didn't do based on using AI or using a tool. And my kind of foil or argument is heads of school for decades, maybe generations, have had ghost writers. You know, they've had comms people write for them. And we, as a school, we as a community, as a school, that's published. People don't say the comms person wrote it. They say the head wrote it. And people have been fine with that. And I think it's the same thing. So I'll stop there. I could go down the rabbit hole, but.
So this is all great. And we'll get onto this in just a little bit, because I know we want to spend a lot of time talking about use cases and how, you know, we want to be instructive and give people ideas around prompting and that stuff. But I think the timing for this conversation is so important because, you know, there's this concept of Baumol's cost disease. Are you familiar with it, Brendan?
Peter, you shared it with me, but I forgot. So
yeah,
I'm happy to have you remind me.
So, you know, I'm not an economist, so I'll just let me say that up front. But there's this idea in Baumol's cost disease where salaries rise in labor heavy industries. So like healthcare is one that you hear a lot about associated with it. Education obviously is one as well. And and salaries rise not because we're just getting more productive, even though we try to squeeze as much time as out of our day as we possibly can. But really, you know, the thing that's driving that wage increase is that we look at other industries and we see wages going up there. So naturally, and cost of living, of course, we have to be more competitive, right? Like we have to provide really awesome compensation package or as best that we possibly can for our faculty so that we can retain them and, you know, and drive all the values that are important to our school communities. But you know, if you look at, say, technology where they're able to gain efficiency gains with fewer people, we just can't do that. Like it roughly takes the same number of people to run our school today as it did 20 years ago, right? With whatever your teacher-student ratio is, all that sort of stuff. So as a result of this, as we're raising our salaries, as we should, you know, people need to be fair. I just can't state this enough. People need to be compensated fairly. The other lever to balance that out is tuition has to go up, right? Yeah. So we're raising tuition, which means, you know, with each passing year, as our tuition increases, we're actually putting some constraints on the number of people who can afford to send their kids to our school. And so when I look at AI, I'm like, oh, okay, this is really interesting. Like, are there ways in which schools can leverage AI to buy time back for people, right? Right? Like time is the most precious commodity, right? Like it's the thing that we're all looking for. But can we think about AI in ways so that we can gain back time in our day so that we can drive more value and create, even higher value propositions to attract more tuition paying families to our schools?
Well, I love that, Peter, because what I tell Marcom folks is that, and that's what I need to do is lead with what you're talking about, because then what I say, like the extension of that is Marcom folks especially are under-resourced.
Yes.
Not enough money, not enough time. There's time again, and not enough people. So they're not adding staff. AI can help solve that gap. It's not going to erase it, but it's going to help solve the gap. So
it's going to buy back time, right?
Buy back time. And yeah. And what I tell Marcom folks is that, and the other problem at schools, after being in the chair forever, is schools add to people's plates. They very rarely remove. Very rarely.
We don't sunset, do we?
No. And it's like, okay, you're doing X. Let's add X. You're going to add another role because that person left and we don't want to replace that person because of salary, because of what you talked about. And AI can absolutely help. So I kind of tongue in cheek say to Marcom folks, as you start to make this part of your daily life, daily workflow, don't tell anybody you're getting this much done.
Like we can only squeeze the budget so much.
Yeah.
Right. Like you come to a place where you just like, you can't anymore. So where are you then going to gain those efficiencies? And I think this is the opportunity that AI presents, lots of offices across an independent school, but let's focus on marketing, because I think that's where we're going to really talk about the use cases, given that's your expertise and your domain of knowledge. Like, what are some use cases that AI can make that impact that can allow school marketers to buy back that time?
Yeah. I mean, the one that I see schools do the most is the kind of the entry is generative work, right? So they're using it to brainstorm and or write emails or newsletters or content of some sort. So written word of some sort. So they're doing that. But one of the things I'd love people to start to think about or use is deep research. And the kind of the use case that I love is competitive research and unique selling proposition versus a competitor. So let me just give you kind of a general prompt. Take your biggest competitor's website and say, hey, review this website. This is our competitor. Review our website, find out the strengths and weaknesses, and then tell me why a prospective family would choose my school over the other school. Peter, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And it does all this work and it's impartial. It takes away things, or sees through blind spots or notices blind spots that, the other thing is, I remember at my last school, when I first got there, I kind of had fresh eyes for maybe a year, maybe two. And then after that, I was in the soup, I couldn't see it. I was, what was somebody, maybe you told me this, or somebody said, it's like reading a jar from the inside, like reading the label from the inside. I can't notice it anymore, but AI doesn't have that problem. It's relatively impartial and will just tell you. And then what you do is you use those strengths and weaknesses or talking points in your marketing. And I think that's a way for schools to more easily get to, why choose them, unique selling proposition, stuff like that.
And now a word from our sponsor. Leading a school today can mean juggling a dozen different systems across offices, finance, fundraising, marketing, enrollment, and academics, all pulling your attention in different directions. At Blackbaud, we believe it shouldn't be that way. That's why we built Blackbaud's Total School Solution. It's a fully connected solution designed for private and independent school leaders who want a clear view of their entire operation. From tuition to transcript to donation, you get one ecosystem, one login, and one source of truth. This isn't about more software. It's about smarter strategy. When your systems work together, you spend less time chasing down data and more time leading. Want to see what Blackbaud's Total School Solution could do for your school? Visit blackbaud.com. That's BLACKBAUD.com to learn more. So how do you get to that place where you can get whatever your tool is, whether it's Gemini,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, Claude, like how do you craft that sort of a prompt so that at the end of the day, it's scanning your market, it's looking at your public competition, your independent competition, like any competition that's facing your school.
We'll talk about two ways. And one trick I stole from you, so I'll give you credit there. But the first is, it's a positive, but the first is, I always talk about the RACEQ method. So, in full transparency, RACE is from a guy named Chris Penn at Trust Insight. So this was his idea, and then I just added the Q. But I like to share it because I think it's really smart. Real fast. Role, action, context, execute, question. So if we think about the prompt, role, AI knows everything about everything. So if we give it a role, like it puts guardrails on it and focuses the AI to think about what we want it to think about. So act like an expert school marketer who focuses on conversions.
Right.
Even maybe less, right? That's role. Action, whatever you want it to do. So
go scan my market, look at all the competitors within 15 miles to help me understand where my strengths are.
So it's action. Or, take this blog post and write 5 social media posts to promote the blog post. Right. Whatever the action might be.
Yeah.
So role and action, by the definition from Chris Penn, is required. Context and execute are not, although I think they're starting more and more. So context is, let's say that we say, act like an expert school marketer. Action, create an email campaign for my upcoming open house. And the reason I bring that up is context is any information that you can give it about open house. The day, the time, what people are going to do, all that stuff, right? People know what that is. And then execute, the call to action is this. I always say this, people always laugh at me. Don't use emojis. AI was common to using emojis, so don't use emojis. And then question, and this has been huge for me. I end every prompt with, ask any questions to improve your output.
Yeah.
50% of the time it comes back with questions, 50% of the time it doesn't. But the questions it comes back with are clarifying questions that I'm like, why didn't I think of that? And then you answer those, and then the outputs are amazing. The other prompting method, and I think you gave me this, so I'm going to give you credit. I stole this, was for deep research, is this gets meta and not the company. Use the AI to help you write the prompt.
It's funny. I was just running a session in Moonshot Lab today we do this monthly thing called the AI Lab. Yeah. And we were talking about like using AI to asking AI to write the prompt that you want to get to the answer, and how meta that is. Yeah. Funny.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, that has been, so I'll say like, help me write a deep research prompt that I want to do this. So that way you can, and then ask any questions you have to improve your output. That way you don't kind of have to know the ins and outs of prompting, and it'll walk you through it. And then you literally take that output, copy and paste that into a new chat window, as long as you have deep research, and it's unbelievable.
Well, I have one more thing to that. So when I do that, I then, I'll do all the things that you just said, because you taught me. So I do all these things, and then we create the prompt, and at the end of that, once it spits out that prompt, I say, okay, now go back, look at this again, go into more depth and make it more rigorous. And the result of that is amazing, because now you go next level. And like, you can keep cycling through that rationale as long as you want until you get to exactly what you want. But the adage of like garbage in, garbage out is so true. Like, the more time you can put on the front end to make sure you've got just this incredibly tight and and focused prompt, you're just going to get better answers on the other side.
Well, and I just want to pull out what you said, which was reprompt. Don't be happy with the first version, right? That's so key. Some people think, oh my gosh, this is great. No, keep pushing it, keep going, and eventually you're going to get to a point of diminishing returns. You're like, okay, this is great. But
a cycle or two through is all you really probably need.
Yeah, that's fair. And the other one, just to get people, I want to get their juices flowing, is the persona exercise. And I think I've shared this with you before, which is identify a persona that you have at school. So again, persona, for those who don't know, is a person that you're trying to attract. Like, who are you trying to attract? In our case, it's probably a mom, and that's intentional. There are other factors there, but that's another podcast. Anyways, once you identify who that is, you can probably see 2, 3, 4 people at school that fit that mold. And ideally it would be somebody that, like, this is perfect when this is, we're still in the fall, somebody that's new or maybe 1 year at the school, and then invite them to a Zoom call. And that'll make sense in a moment. And what you want to do is have a battery of questions. How did you find our school? Who else did you consider? Think of all the questions you have around enrollment and marketing.
Yeah.
Where did you look for us? Where did you not look for us? Where were we missing? Ask everybody all those questions. Why'd you pick us? All these things. Take the transcript. Let's say you talk to 3 people. Take the transcript of those 3 people, dump them into the model of your choice, and then ask it to pull out common threads and language, and then use that to inform your landing page or pages on your website about what you do. And so here's the gold star. You think of that persona for this year. So if it's mom, she comes to the landing page and she sees language that these other moms have used, and she goes, oh my gosh, they're in my head.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm looking for. And that's just using AI to synthesize large chunks of data to make it actionable.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I know you've got other examples. Like, what else would you suggest?
Again, let me just say this. If you're not paying for a model, so again, let's talk about models real fast. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. I wouldn't use Grok. I play with it, but I wouldn't use it for school. But let's just say those 3. Your school probably gives you something. If they're giving you something, use that. No problem. But if they're not, subscribe. It's $20 a month. If school won't pay for it, pay for it. It is worth it. Lots of features, lots of good stuff. I would say one of the other things I like to do, well, there's 2 things that come to mind. One is, and I've been part of this, launching a school website or updating a school website is the bane of existence for Marcom folks. It's awful, right? Awful. So one of the things that's positive with paying for these is that I think the models use different terms, but like a project. So it's like a folder.
Yeah.
So take your brand guide, upload the brand guide, take any content that you have from the school, take your view book, take anything any kind of context that you can add, and then put in your school's website. And then, there are a couple different ways you could do this, but say, hey, here's our persona. Put in, because it'll read the website, put in this page, compare to the persona, what's missing, what language should we use, what language are we not using, help us rewrite this for this persona, things like that. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, and you can even go to the place where you're like, help me rethink this page with conversion first. Like, if our goal is to get an inquiry, okay, like, how do I do that based on its current setup?
That's great. The other thing that I love to do, and I know you do this as well, is in ChatGPT, they have advanced voice mode. So this will sound weird, but I'll get there. So I have and you have a child that doesn't drive yet. I have a child that doesn't drive yet, which means we're Uber, who doesn't get paid and usually gets 1-star review.
Right.
So when she's in the car, I'm not allowed to do this, but when she leaves, my phone's plugged in, Apple CarPlay, advanced voice mode in ChatGPT, the AI will talk to me. I have a conversation. So like, if I need to be by myself in the car, focused, and I'm trying to work through a problem, or I have a strategic idea that I can't figure out, because especially now, working at home, you're by yourself, but I can talk to ChatGPT. It'll prompt me. It'll push me. We can work through things. And then what's great is when I get back to my computer, there's the transcript's all there. Everything we've talked about, every output. So I don't lose anything. So I feel like I'm being more productive. I mean, I don't do that every time. I do like listening to podcasts and music, but if I need to work through something, I can't encourage people more to use advanced voice mode.
Yeah, that reminds me of I know Josh Clark spoke at your marketing.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Talk about what Josh is doing. And if you don't know Josh, he's the director of enrollment management of TASIS in London.
This was fantastic. So he trained, if I get this wrong, Peter, let me know.
Yeah.
But he trained, so within ChatGPT, they have something called a custom GPT, and Google has something called a gem. But what it is you can basically program this thing with words, so it's not technical. And he programmed this custom GPT to be their persona. So now most schools probably end up having, a couple personas, right? So if we think of boarding school, you probably have domestic boarders, international boarders, and day students. That's an easy way to think of it.
Yeah.
So he took, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but let's just say domestic boarders, that wouldn't quite fit. But anyways, he created a custom GPT that was a domestic boarder, and then you could talk to it.
The parent of a domestic boarder.
Or parent of a domestic boarder.
Yeah.
So then you could have conversations with it about marketing, but also about interviewing.
Yeah.
Right. So he had his staff have these conversations with the persona. So it's a safe space, might feel a little weird, but you get over it, so that the staff can have these conversations, get questions, and get comfortable. So then when they meet the real people, they feel good.
Yeah.
They have answers.
It's a training tool.
Yeah.
It's a training tool, right? So you can imagine, hey, ChatGPT, act as this parent.
Yeah.
And then let's have a conversation around what this parent is hoping for. And then you go into advanced voice mode and you start having that conversation. ChatGPT be like, hey, I'm, Peter Barron from, Seattle, Washington, and I'm, interested in your school. I mean, this is my son. Like, it's just making up these scenarios that you can then respond to in real time and get repetitions around the kinds of questions that are part of this custom GPT that Josh has created. And then the cool part is on the other end of it, after you're done, you can say, hey, analyze my responses. How did I do?
Yeah, that's,
where can I be better? How can I improve? And, it's a very low risk way to get some reps, right? Because we know we get better with repetitions, when you're having conversations with families.
Well, I even think of, I'm not doing it anymore. That's probably why I haven't thought of it. But I remember being an admission director, and you have to go to these school fairs. And some of these school fairs, they give you, so rather than just talking to families behind a table, they give you like 5-10 minutes to do the spiel to the whole group.
Yeah.
Do your spiel in private, record it, give the transcript to ChatGPT and say, critique it. Is this representing the school? What am I missing? What am I not? Go back to the deep research with your competitor and say, am I highlighting the right things?
Yeah.
God, I wish this was around then.
I know. We talk about buying back time. You can now start to see, there are all these ways that we can buy back time. I'm curious, there's this concept that you hear a lot now about AI slop, like people are putting stuff out there and it's just so clearly, one and done kind of interaction with AI. And you're like, this isn't very good. So it begs the question, how can schools avoid this, and how can they really create content with the help of AI that's authentic to who they are and that prospective families can identify with?
Yeah, this is a good topic and lots to unpack. I would say usually the AI slop I've heard of is related to, like, at the time of this recording, Sora 2 was just released recently.
Yeah.
So Sora 2 is OpenAI's video engine, and I don't have access to. I don't think you do either.
I haven't tried. Yeah.
So it's supposedly amazing, and Google released what they call VO3, which is creating videos. So it's related to that. It's related to some images. I haven't heard it as much for generative, like text, but I would answer it this way. In this, trying to think of the best way to jump in here. The stuff that we do at schools is, and the way I think about it is, we're doing like transactional content. We're not creating art. Right. I'm not writing a poem. I'm not writing a book. Like I wrote a book. I wrote the book. You know what I mean? But the transactional content that people read and throw away, whether literally or figuratively, that's a perfect use case for AI.
Mm.
The other thing, and I think I stole this from you, is that in order to speed up my content creation process, if I have an idea, I'll outline a couple things and then I'll speak. So I'll just speak into you see the mic, I'll speak into the mic, record myself, take the transcription of that recording, put it in a project that I have in Claude. I use Claude a lot, and I've trained Claude on my voice and just say, clean this up, clean this up so it's okay for print. And I feel good about that because it saves me time. It's my IP. It's my thinking. It just, I'm not editing really. And it's just the way I think about it is it's just like maybe a supercharged version of Grammarly.
Yeah.
Because everybody's using Grammarly.
Well, I think it also speaks to different learning styles, right? Like if you're, if you're an audio based learner, like if you're verbal in that way, like this is such a great assist. I did a podcast. I think I released it so we're recording this in October 9th. And I think earlier this week on Monday, whatever that day is, that October, whatever the 6th, I think.
6th, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. 6th. Sorry. I released an episode with Josh Clark, who's the head of school at Landmark School. And he talks about, how, for how this can be a real game changer for different learning styles.
That's a great point. And look, they kicked me out of the classroom a long time ago. So I don't think about AI's application in the classroom. You talked to Eric Long. He was at my first summit. I just do what Eric says and think about it.
Pretty good
perspective because it's good, right?
Yeah.
Why do I'm not going to rethink it. I trust him. Let me go listen to Eric and talk to Eric. But as I think about, neurodivergent and different learning styles and that stuff, it's you could think of a better thing to use.
I'm curious, we're obviously, AI is used. It feels like just about in any software app that you have now, whether it's, chat tools like ChatGPT or Gemini, or just, your local, your email software, like whatever, like it's everywhere. And it's a big part of workflows now. To get back to where we started is to buy back people's time, right? So that you can be more effective and lessen some of the load. So I guess the question I want to ask is around guardrails, because obviously you need some guardrails in order to use these tools well. And I know you and I have talked a lot about that. I built a course in the Moonshot Lab around, the different don't train the model, don't, PII, don't put any of that stuff, sensitive information, all that. But I'm curious, like, what is your take on it?
Yeah. I mean, it's, again, you and I talk too much about this. This is why we're doing it here. Have some sort of policy. And I know when we talk about it at schools, people hear the term policy and they freak out because they think it's this 20 it's not. It's one page. Here's what we'll use it for. Here's what we won't use it for. Here's the tool that we use. That's about it.
Well, and the ethics behind it too.
The ethics behind it. Yeah. I mean, but one page and revisit it because it changes so quickly.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. So have a little policy and an understanding across the campus. The other thing, and again, I'm a former recovering director of technology. For me, this is not an IT issue. This is change management. This is strategic. I mean, and again, I'm not ripping on the IT folks. I was one of them, but this isn't just like IT because it's a tool. And then, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, what you said, like, there's a switch that you can do. Don't train the model. Get a team, like if ChatGPT team, Gemini, I'm assuming with the school version has it down. And then, don't upload social security numbers or personal stuff that people can figure out. Just be smart about it.
Yeah. I think there's one more thing too. I mean, yes, policy, whatever that looks like for your school, making sure that you've got guardrails around what you're sharing and what you're not sharing and all that stuff, not training that model, but then also investing in your people and giving them the professional development in order to know how to use these tools well. Like that to me is the critical element of this, is if we don't invest and help people begin to like flatten the learning curve, because there is a learning curve. There's no question.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that investment, then for some, it's going to be really hard to get over how is this going to work? What are the ethics behind it? Like, there's just so many important considerations around the change management piece and doing that effectively.
Yeah. And I know you're going to ask me, Peter, because I know you too well. How do we get started with this? Like, so for me, it's look at your to-do list personally and think about things that AI can help you with.
Yeah.
And then every time you have a task or an activity, you have to start to think, can AI help? And in some cases, it's absolutely no. Like, that's okay.
Right.
But can AI help? Can it not? And then the other thing I would recommend is, if you, like in your staff meetings, start off staff meetings with or some point, like a little 5-minute, let people talk about AI, how they used it. Do they have questions? And just start talking about it, making it part of your routine. And people will learn and feel more comfortable. And then they'll start to do things that you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that.
And if you're looking for places where you can have these conversations, both internally, I love what you just said, can you set up space for people to come together and talk about how they're using it or the questions that they have? But then also look externally. I know a lot of the associations have put together opportunities to bring people together to have conversations around AI, what strategy, policy, all the different things. I mean, I think there's this growing ecosystem of support to help schools figure this out, because I've probably said this now on like 7 podcasts episodes here, but the AI of October 9th is going to look a lot different than the AI of November 9th. And we just kind of have to understand that means we're going to have to continue talking about this and continue investing in people so that we can be, living, using AI to benefit the mission and not overstepping in places where, it's easy to overstep.
100%. And the other thing that kind of flows from that for me is, people ask, and I kind of make a joke in my presentation, or the one I do is, is AI going to take my job? And I go, I think of AI as augmentation, but I do answer it this way. AI is not going to take your job, but somebody who knows how to use AI effectively will take your job.
Yeah.
Might not be next month, might not be next year, but it will absolutely happen.
Look, I think the way I look at it is, as schools get more skilled at using AI across the different domains, it's going to free up time for us to really live our missions in even deeper ways. Because right now, one of the things I hear about every head I talk to is just like time. It is so hard to find the time.
Yeah.
And so that if we can buy back 2%, 3%, 4%, even, imagine 5% of time over the course of the year, that's a lot of hours that we could redirect in really purposeful ways. So I think there's mass opportunity here in terms of what AI can offer and help us with. Again, you got to do all the things, right? Like, just gotta make that standard statement, policy, training, not, all that stuff, right? But the potential's there.
Well, and I think of it like AI is getting rid of the back office crap that's super important that I had to do in those roles. So I can spend time on the high value people. I can have conversations, IRL in real life. I'm trying to be cool there. I can spend time doing that versus worrying about writing something that, again, I think that's transactional. Yeah. People read it and throw it away or delete it. Yeah. So get across what you need to get across and it's gone.
Yeah. One thing I hear a lot is that it's really hard to be strategic when you're weighed down by the daily demands. I hear that all the time.
Oh, done.
Right there. Right? Like this will buy you some time to be more strategic for sure.
Yeah. Perfect.
Hey, Brendan Schneider, SchneiderB Media. You already took my final question about what schools can do today. So you're like,
yeah. For a while there, Mr. Barrett.
Well, it's been a long, long time. I had hair when we first reached it.
I know. I'm just losing mine. It's okay.
It's okay. It happens. But if people want to reach out, what's the best way for them to do that?
I would say SchneiderB.com and then LinkedIn. I love to play on LinkedIn, so find me there and connect or ask questions or give me a hard time. All the above. It'd be great.
Fantastic. Brendan Schneider, founder of SchneiderB Media. Thank you, as always, for sharing your perspectives on AI. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Peter.